Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday to everyone. I hope you're all doing well. It is that time of the week again where we have our conversation. Tonight, I am very excited to welcome someone to the stage who is finally ready to share their story. So while we wait for them to enter in here, just to remind you that this is Survivor Strong, the place where we talk all things childhood trauma, especially sexual abuse and incest. So I welcome you all here and hope that that you find inspiration here and that you will eventually find the courage to tell your own story because it really, really does matter. So while we wait for our guest, let me just check in here to make sure she's not having any issues. You know, sometimes we do. So let me just send her a quick email. How's everybody's week going, by the way? Does anybody have anything that they'd like to share? Anything good that's happened to them this week? Anything that's been challenging that you'd like to talk about? This is the place to do it. We're here to support and be there. So let me just send an email. Let's see. Are you able to get on? Okay, so let's see what she says here. So, so while we wait for that, I've had some things on my heart that I really wanted to talk about in the meantime. And and one of those things is that it's amazing how many of us have shared experiences, how many of us that have really gone through a lot of the same things and had to deal with a lot of the same things. And for those of you who may have started your healing journey, I really would like to know, what inspired you to do that? Was there a moment in time that you just said, you know what, this is it. I have to talk about this. It's finally time. Um, you know, what is it? And as we wait for our guest, hi, Judy, welcome. I would like to, I'm going to ask Judy to come on stage with us if she doesn't mind. And we will see how Judy is doing this evening while we wait for our guest. She may be having some difficulty um, getting getting in. Hopefully not because I sent her a link, but let's see. We'll see. Okay, so it doesn't look like Judy's in the mood to talk right now. Oh, there she is. Okay. Hi, Judy. Wonderful. How are you doing? Awesome. I'm so glad that you popped on here. We're waiting for one of our guests to arrive, so it's wonderful to have somebody to speak with in the meantime. How are you today? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's like ridiculously hot here. It's like in the 90s, I think. I'm pretty sure. It's like almost unbearable. Uh-huh. Oh, right. Right. It's like, we can't make everybody happy, right? So what's on your heart today, Judy? Is there anything on your heart? Anything that you want, hope that we would talk about today? Anything that you would like to talk about? Mm-hmm. Good. Oh, absolutely. Where do you feel like your body has remembered your trauma? Hmm. So did you find anything that triggers that, or like really you're just there and just all of a sudden? Hmm. Yes, yes. That's right. Mhm. And when you're finding yourself, you know, so when you started writing, when's the last time you really thought about your childhood and before you started writing? Are these memories that you had prior to writing, or did these memories come up more recently as you started writing? Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Our guest here is Oh, okay. Oh, good. Hey, Stitch. So Stitch is watching and she's downloading Fireside as we speak, so she can get on here and join us. Yeah, as soon as you get on there, Stitch, and you're able to click in, you should be able to access without an issue. So thanks for letting me know. Sorry about that confusion. But to get to what you asked me, Judy, for me. It came out in physical pain, you know, abdominal pain, just for years, just my stomach ached for no reason. I mean, I went to so many doctors and I can't even tell you how many tests I had, and they're like, no, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with your stomach, but obviously my pain was real. And it wasn't until I kind of got really deep into my therapy, probably, I would say, 4 or 5 years. And I say that's deep in therapy, but really that's just the beginning of therapy. Um, but it wasn't until 4 or 5 years in that I realized, oh no, this is absolutely hurt and pain from my past. And for me, my triggers and my flashbacks, really, I did a really good job of burying them down, right? I mean, I did just a fabulous job of, brushing it aside, or at least I thought I did, until I was about 34, 35. And then that's when everything just broke wide open and I had no control over it anymore. The flashbacks were coming. And so how has your process been? Have you been having flashbacks, or do you have nightmares? What are some of the symptoms that you're experiencing? I can now. Mm, mm. It's okay. You don't have to. Mhm. And that's how you saw it, is that because there were others that perhaps your need wasn't as important. Mm. Right. That's a lot like me too. It's just like you, I wait for no one. Yeah. It's, I do what I need to do, and, you know, because that's, I learned that that was the only way to get it done, is if I did it myself most of the time, you know. We had to rely on ourselves as survivors, right? And rely on ourselves to, for comfort when we didn't get it from our family. We have to rely on ourselves for so much that um, it's easy for that to be a habit. It's easy for that to be just become the way that we are, because it's just, it's how we survived, you know? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Um, oh, okay, so we're going to do something different. So, okay, Stitch. So you are probably watching Facebook Live, right? Can you click the link? Does the link allow you to pop in through Facebook Live? If not, I can go over to Facebook here, and we'll do it this way. Don't you worry. We are going to figure this out. Don't you worry. Okay, so let's see if we can find Stitch. Thank you for your patience, everyone, by the way. Don't, okay, exit out of that. I'm looking for you, Stitch. I'm looking for you. Let's see. Let's see here. No. Do you have, Stitch, do you have Messenger, Facebook Messenger? Because we can do it that way too. Because if you want, because I believe we're just going to be doing audio anyway. So let's try. Okay, I know I definitely have you over on Insta. Let's see if we can do it that way. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm trying to get to my Facebook Live here and see. Oh, here I am. Okay. Stitch, can you comment down here on the Facebook Live and let me know if you have Messenger? That way we can do it that way. The other way is that I also have my cell phone, so if you wanted to just call me, we could do that too. So we're going to make this work either way, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Oh, I realize though, I need a little bit more light in here. It's a little bit dark. Hold on just a second. Okay. Well, that's better. Now you can see me a little bit. Okay, so let's see what Stitch says. She just sent us an email. Let's see, where did it go? Okay, so she's going to come through Facebook here too. Yeah, you know what, Stitch, we probably should have discussed this ahead of time, right? I'm sorry about that. We'll do that next time. Make sure that we figure out exactly where we're meeting. Um, but yes, if you go to Facebook and you just try to call me or Facebook message me, we can do it that way. So I will be here waiting for your call to do that. But in the meantime, something that that someone told me over the weekend. I had an amazing trip to California, where I was honored to be able to attend a child help event. Child Help is a really amazing organization that help children that have been abused, at-risk children, and they really focus on the mental health, the oh, there we go. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere here. Okay, perfect. Yay! Yes. Okay, so we'll pin what I was just talking about. We'll go back to that. We've got. Let's do this. All righty. Woo! Where there's a will, there's a way. That's what I say. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'm so sorry about that. I should have communicated with you exactly where. And actually, I feel terrible because the last guest did not have an iPhone either. And I should have reminded you that that Fireside requires that.
I knew, and then you sent me a Google Meets link.
Did I? Oh my gosh,
for the
I'm
event
so
reminder.
sorry.
So I was like, oh, maybe it will cross over to Google Meets.
Oh.
Like maybe she's a technical genius and knows how to do that.
I am not a technical genius, just clearly.
I am not either.
Clearly. Well, wonderful. Well, Judy, thank you so much for chatting with us while we were waiting for Stitch. Judy. Stitch is my guest tonight. She's a cycle breaker. Stitch is a cycle breaker. And she's a really strong woman who's ready to tell a little bit about her story. She has her own podcast that she hosts, Navigating Normal, which I've had the pleasure of being a guest on multiple times now. And so I would like to welcome Stitch to the podcast. Welcome, Stitch.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, don't even worry about it. That we figure these things out as we go. Trust me.
We do. That's so true.
Yeah. So, Stitch, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm just so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited that I can come over and check out Fireside. I watched some of your older podcasts and they were really, really good. The app looks really interesting.
It's very cool. Yeah.
I'm going to have to get my hands on an iPhone so that I can actually be like on Fireside on occasion.
Absolutely, because I have to tell you that what's so cool about it is because it's interactive and it's live. Like, Judy's on with us right now, and she could just ask you questions right now if she wanted to. So that's like a really cool thing. So the downside is it's live. And so any technical difficulties, it's like right there. But I really love it, and you would probably like it a lot for your podcast too. Just hosting your podcast, being able to open it up to different people.
Right, yeah.
That's really cool. So I really want to start the conversation by, I just want to open the space to you, and I realize you're looking at me, and you can't tell that I'm looking at you, but I am looking at you. I want to know your story, Stitch. And I want to give you the opportunity, as much as you want to share, as much detail as you're comfortable sharing, from start to finish. Like, what is your story?
Okay. I thought about it, and then I read through your questions, and I realized I was kind of answering your questions as I was going through my story.
And that's okay. That's okay.
So the general gist is that I was verbally and physically and sexually abused until I was 12, I believe. And a little bit neglected. I was very malnourished growing up by my mom and my stepfather. And then the verbal abuse kind of bled over to my mother's entire family over the years. When I was 12, I moved in with my dad, and he got full custody of me, or well, I still have to see my mom sometimes, but he got custody of me. I moved in with him, and the verbal abuse kept going, though, from my mother and her family throughout my life. And it really led the way for lack of boundaries and future unstable relationships, future abusers, poor decision making across the board. And then I still kept the mindset of someone that was groomed until, frankly, very recently. I would say maybe the last 5 years was when I really realized that I still didn't say no to people.
Right.
I got pregnant at 17 and was treated as if I had failed in every sense of the way by a 25-year-old who had lied to me about his age and gotten me drunk.
Wow. And how old were you? 17?
I was 17.
So you weren't the age of consent. Let's be
Right.
clear.
And at that time, I was very, very isolated, which I didn't realize until recently that, I had friends in high school, but I spent the entire summer break alone. I didn't hear from anyone. I didn't, go hang out with people. The people that I did go hang out with, by my junior year, they were in alternative schools or rehab, because that was the type of crowd that I thought I was supposed to keep as someone with my kind of childhood, I thought I had to fit into that stereotype. And I kept fitting into what I thought is that stereotype and who I was supposed to be until, like I said, about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, was when I just got tired of it all.
And who did you think that you were supposed to be?
The family failure, every woman in my, well, not every woman, but every generation of my family had a teen mom. I was at least third generation teen mom. And when I got up to the age where I started focusing on what other kids were like and what their home life was like, I thought I identified more with people that made poor choices, like I did. And, the girls that went home and got yelled at and got hit, I was like, well, I used to go through that when I was younger. Which I didn't anymore when I lived with my father, but I was very much still in the mindset that that was what I was supposed to be like. And those girls were, 16, hanging out with 25 and 30-year-olds, and
wow,
just making poor choices. And so actually, I followed that mindset.
I need to interject something here. Did you say 15, 16-year-old girls with 25, 30-year-old men?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so let's clarify. those girls didn't make bad choices. That's not why that they were in that situation. You
Right.
and those girls had sexual predators around you that groomed you to be around them. So I don't want you to beat yourself up for that.
Right. And it's a mindset that sticks with you even after you do become an adult. When I was 19, I was in a physically abusive relationship, and verbally abusive. He would come home drunk at 4:00 in the morning and say, well, no one's going to love you because, your baby daddy didn't love you and didn't love your baby, and no one's going to love that baby.
Wow.
For about 2 years. And I was also people pleasing so excessively.
Guilty.
I was in school full time because that was something that my father thought would be good for me, and I wanted to pursue an education. After I had my daughter at 17, I really started realizing I needed to think about my future more,
Yeah, sure.
So I was in school full time, and I was waiting tables full time, and I had a 2, 3, 4-year-old girl, and was in this abusive relationship. And when that finally ended, I took on drinking for a little while. And then after that, I was still people pleasing all the way through my marriage, which was, in looking back in retrospect, was also to people please, because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. And so I found someone that everyone admired, and everyone thought that he was really great and he was perfect for me. And then we got married, and everyone was like, okay, well, you've done it all. Congratulations, And I looked back and I realized that I wasn't happy with anything, which led to a couple more years of drinking, which led to another major bout of depression. And then it wasn't until a year after I quit drinking. I think I was sober for over a year until I finally started getting more introspective and decided that nothing was working for me. Yeah. And I needed to take care of myself.
And what did depression look like for you? Because it's different for a lot of people.
Now it's better than it used to be. A lot better. I started self-harming, I think, when I was 10, I think.
Wow.
Possibly before then. I don't remember most of my childhood. I remember a few acts of sexual abuse. I remember verbal abuse. I remember some neglect, going without meals sometimes. I remember the first time I bled, which is a really, I don't know that I would consider it the first time I self-harmed necessarily, because I was a little kid. I was watching a movie with my sisters, and when you're really little and you pick your nose until it starts bleeding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That happened, and I remember going into the bathroom, and something that stayed with me for years is that I've been very detached from myself physically.
What do you mean by that?
I don't feel as much physical pain as I should.
Oh, okay. I see.
So I didn't feel that. I had blood all over my hand. And I went into the bathroom and I was just like, what is this? And I was curious about it. And then my sister yelled at me for making a mess in the bathroom.
Instead of asking how you were doing, what happened?
Yeah.
Why are you bleeding?
You shouldn't do that. You don't want to make yourself bleed. You're hurting yourself. No, I better go clean up that mess before mom and dad get home.
So it doesn't sound like you had much compassion.
Right, yeah. And that was when I realized that it was okay if I bled. And after that, I did a lot of excoriation. I would scratch at myself a lot. And then when I got into teenage years, it was much more intense, things like that.
Yeah.
Going back through and working through everything, I've had some bouts of excoriation, not anywhere near as bad as what they used to be by any means. But I have not tried to unalive myself since I quit drinking.
Good.
And now, you know, I might have a weekend where I spend a little bit too much time in bed.
Yeah.
But I usually try to save that for when my kids aren't around, you know?
I did the same thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can so relate to that because I did the exact same thing. Wow. I want to say that I'm proud of you for where you are and that you haven't tried to unalive yourself. That's a big step. It's a big milestone that you've kind of passed that, you know? But continue. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. Continue.
No, you're fine. I like the questions. I'm sure I'm leaving things out. Yeah, now I sleep a little bit more. I can get really irritable. I get irritable without noticing now. That's sort of something that I'm working on. That's my next thing that I'm working on is I don't realize when I'm yelling sometimes. And people will be like, why are you yelling? Why are you angry? And I won't think that I'm angry.
Yeah.
So that's been what I've been working on the last few months, I think.
Oh, good. So you have your process and you have your steps that you're doing and working towards those goals. That's so important. You know, I wanted to ask you, I know that you said that you were 12 when you were sexually abused. And did you disclose right away? What were the circumstances around that?
I was sexually abused up until 12.
Okay.
My earliest memories are of sexual abuse. My first memories of sexual abuse and neglect. The last time I was abused in any way, and I think I told you this story once, it was the first day of 6th grade, and I lived right across the street from school. And, you know, 6th grade is really when you start noticing your classmates, and there's gossiping and there's bullying and there's drama and everyone wants to fit in, all of those stereotypes. And the first day I came home and, you know, I remember being able to smell the trees. I remember how warm the breeze was walking out of the school building. I remember hearing everyone laughing and screaming and talking to each other and running around. And I lived right across the street from the school. I knew the crossing guard very well by name. And I went home, and in the living room, all the windows were open. We just had the screen door latched, you know, letting in the fall air. And I had gotten in trouble for something. And I don't know, I could not tell you what I got in trouble for. I have no idea. But my stepfather took off my bottoms and bent me over and just smacked me several times on the behind.
Wow. Okay.
And this is, you know, the crossing guard is still out. The kids are still walking home. The curtains are open. And I was furious.
Yeah.
Because at that point, my classmates might have seen what was happening.
Yeah. Did they see? Do you know if they saw?
I don't know. I don't think that they did.
You never asked her. Did the crossing?
I never asked her anything.
Yeah.
So I went upstairs and I wrote this like angry little letter in my notebook. You know, just a little kid just has to, you know, get out that and I said, I'm going to tell someone. I'm going to tell the principal tomorrow. I'm so tired of this. I'm tired of how I'm being treated. I know what this is. I'm going to go tell someone. And unbeknownst to me, my stepfather was going through my things.
Oh my God.
So he turned himself in. He lied about my age.
Wait, how could your stepdad lie about your age?
He lied about who his victim was.
Oh, so he didn't say, oh, this was my stepdaughter. He just said, I did this to so-and-so. She was, okay, wow.
So he's registered. He went to jail for a 17-year-old.
And you were 12? Well, it started before that. When did it start? You don't remember?
I was in a crib. I don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically your whole life.
Yes.
Wow.
So he was incarcerated for 3 months.
3 months.
Because that was enough time, to learn his lesson.
Wow.
And he wrote me a letter, and my mom gave it to me, saying that he had found what I said and that was why he had turned himself in. And I don't remember what else the letter said. It disappeared as soon as I read it,
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
And those were the best 3 months I've ever had with my mother.
So what was your mom's reaction to this? I mean, did she divorce him? Did she stay with him?
She was present the entire time.
Whoa. Wait, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this. And I have a smile on my face, and it's not a funny...
No, I do too. It's that reflex.
Yeah, exactly. Your mom was present while your stepdad was abusing you.
Yes.
She knew he was abusing you all of those years.
She coaxed me.
Oh my God, she was part of it. So to be clear, you were sexually molested by your mom and your stepdad.
Yes. I have some vague memories of my mom saying it's okay to take my clothes off in a hotel room with other adults.
Wow.
But I don't remember who was there.
Yeah.
And I can only tell you the one time because I got burned there was a hot tub in the room and I got burned in it.
Oh my God.
I had like 2nd-degree burns after that.
Oh my God. And your mom has never been charged?
Nope.
I'm just taking a deep breath because that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in, especially before the last thing that you said before I stopped you to ask that question was that was the best 3 months I've ever had with my mom. But yet your mom had been sexually abusing you along with her stepdad, with your stepdad. Yeah. So, Wow. What was it about those 3 months that made it seem like it was like the best? What?
She tried to cook, which she's not a good cook, but she tried. I remember she was just there. Just the fact that she was there. I remember talking to her. I remember laying my head on her lap and her just running her fingers through my hair. I remember it was like the only real birthday party I've ever had. She rented out a couple lanes at the bowling alley and I got to invite the people I wanted to invite. And I was able to relax.
I hear all of that and I can see how it would seem that way. From an outsider, hearing you tell that, it kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, I know. It does too. Yeah.
Because basically what she was doing was trying to buy your love, basically, don't turn me in. Don't, look, I'm a good mom now that he's not here. It was all just more manipulation.
Right. Yeah. And it only lasted while he was in jail.
Well, that's just it. Mm-hmm.
And she was dating my godfather while he was in jail.
Oh.
Who at the time I thought was wonderful. It turned out he was also very creepy. And then as soon as he got out of jail, because his parents owned the house we lived in, so he had to come back on the weekends to do maintenance on the house.
Oh, Lord. So you saw these people all the time?
Well, that year I had to go to my grandma's on the weekends. I wasn't allowed to go home when he was there for that year of 6th grade.
Because of was there a restraining order or?
No, I think it was just so that my dad wouldn't find out, basically. I just wasn't allowed, they just kept everyone separated.
That's another good question. Your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Where is your dad in all of this?
I went to see my dad every other weekend for my entire childhood. The only time I did not, he was in the National Guard. And so when he went to basic, he helped with the flood down in Honduras, I think in 92 or 93. Mm-hmm. When he did things like that, he didn't come for me, but he got me. Every single weekend, he drove to and from the entire way, paid all of the child support on time, took me on vacations, and he's always been just the best dad. But he had no idea what was happening.
Does he know now?
He knows the things that my mother has told him.
Oh, so he doesn't know.
I don't know what she told him.
Do you think that she told him that she was there coaxing you?
Oh, no.
So she didn't tell him the story. So the answer is no. He doesn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
After spring break of 6th grade, my mother decided that she wanted to move to be with my stepdad again, who was living 3 hours away. So she did that. She moved. I stayed with my grandmother for the rest of the school year, so I didn't have to switch schools. And then she moved me up there. So we were living in an apartment about a mile from my stepdad.
Oh my God. And so I'm assuming that you saw him?
Yeah, after that he was around all the time.
And did he ever try anything else?
No. We were never alone together after that. He once asked me if I wanted to ride home and I said no. We were never ever alone together after that. I would not allow it.
Good. And did your mom ever try to get you to do anything else after that?
No, after that it was just love bombing and verbal abuse.
Oh yeah, the love bombing. Oh my gosh.
But after she announced that she would be moving up there, that was when my dad took her to court, which of course court is a process.
Yes.
So it was about half a year before he got custody of me and I moved in with him.
Wow. But he fought for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
He fought for you.
He went miles and miles into debt.
Yeah.
But he did. Yeah.
Right. How does that feel? I mean, it must feel amazing that your dad was there for you like that.
It does. He really, now I'm getting all choked up.
Yeah, it's okay.
He's always been there for me. I mean, when I got pregnant at 17, he basically was like, well, as long as you stay in school, you have a home here. Yeah. And I'll provide for you.
Right.
He's always been supportive.
Right. I'm so happy that you have someone like that in your life, because not everybody has that, And
right.
So I know that you're lucky. You're lucky to have him for sure. Wow. And so she got back with him. Mm-hmm. You went to live with your dad. And then, what's transpired since then? I mean, so now let's fast forward to now. I mean, so we have those years. We're still going to go back, by the way. Just like I just kind of want to see.
It's so much.
I know.
So after he got custody of me, my mom still had rights to see me every other weekend, on the condition that she stayed. She had to get a legal divorce from my stepdad in order to keep any rights to me. So as long as she stayed divorced from him, she could have her weekends with me.
But she could continue sleeping with him and dating him and having him around.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So after court, she promised me that she would try to get custody of me again after the 2-year waiting period you have to go through, which obviously she never did.
Yeah.
Instead, after that 2-year period, they bought a townhome together.
Wow. So they can't be married, but they can buy a house together. They can sleep together. They can basically live life as a married couple.
Yeah, they tell everyone they're still married. They've been married this entire time. They never split up, as far as they're concerned.
Wow, and they're still together. Wow.
And then people that don't know on the outside will say that I'm very spoiled, because when I turned 16, my dad got me a car and he got me a cell phone for my 16th birthday.
And so you're spoiled because you got nice gifts for your 16th birthday?
Right. But what people don't realize is that he said, here you go. Here's your keys. Here's your phone. If you want to go see your mother, you can go see your mother if you want to. I think I drove to see her 2 or 3 times after that.
So basically he was saying, I'm not going to bring you to see her anymore, but if you want to go on your own, you can do it.
Right.
But you know what? I think what's more upsetting to me is the fact that you were labeled as spoiled because your parents wanted to do something nice for you, or your dad wanted to do something nice for you for your birthday, something that you deserved. That you deserved that. And I hate that you were labeled that way.
What was wonderful. He was a single dad.
Yeah.
He had bought a house a year after he got custody of me. So he still had the debt from going to get custody of me. And then he tacked on the debt of buying a house, and then he bought me a car,
Yeah.
But, he never had to see my mom and dad.
Right.
And he always tells people.
And that was the goal. And there's nothing wrong with that, I gotta say.
Right.
And so you drove maybe 3 times and that was it.
Yeah, I think so. After I got pregnant, her family thought that he had been a horrible father, and that was why I got pregnant.
Oh gosh.
And so they convinced us that I would get more support and more help if I moved in with my aunt.
Okay. And is this your mom?
My mom's sister.
Okay.
I would get help from my aunt, my 2 older sisters, and my grandmother, because they all lived in the same town.
Okay.
Which in theory would make sense.
Okay. I'm waiting for it.
But when I was pregnant and we started the transition period, my first red flag, my sister tried to force me to go into a confession booth with a priest I'd never met in some church I'd never been to, because we were raised Catholic.
Oh no.
And she was convinced that I was doomed at that point.
Wow, you were doomed.
Yes.
Wow, not that you were abused. And were your siblings also abused?
I found out when I was in court-mandated therapy. They came in for a couple sessions and they admitted that some abuse had happened with them, but they never said how extensive that was. And because of that, they moved in with my grandparents. So they got to move in with Grandma and Grandpa, and I stayed.
So what was the time frame of that? How
I
old
don't
were you
know.
when they moved? Was this
They
after had all come out and he went to jail?
well, it felt like they always lived with grandma and grandpa, like
Oh.
they weren't home. They had a room, but they hardly ever used it. I was the only kid that slept upstairs. Like they would shut the heat off upstairs, and I was the only kid that slept up there.
Wow.
Hmm.
So they were definitely abused then.
Yeah,
I wonder if your mom was involved in their abuse as well.
I don't know.
Wow.
They never talked to me about that sort of thing.
No. How is your relationship with them now? Do you have a relationship with them?
Um, I decided. So after my divorce, and I got my own place, my mother's family verbally berated me and told me that I was making horrible mistakes with my life, and told me I needed to go beg my husband for forgiveness.
For what?
I know. I don't know. Apparently, it was all my fault.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and I decided I needed to step back. That was about 5 years ago. I've had very few instances where I've communicated with my mother's family at all, including my sisters.
It's probably better that way right now. Is that how you feel?
Yeah. There was just a lot of stuff that no one was being open with me about. I found out that my sisters were taking my daughter to go see my mom and stay in the townhouse, promising that nothing was going to happen, but they didn't even tell me they took her.
Wow.
Yeah. So I decided that just wasn't a healthy relationship for me or my children, at least for the time being.
No, and that's the absolute right decision. Your mom's an abuser.
Yeah.
You don't want your kids around her anyway right now. I'm sorry to say that, but she's not a safe person. Not as long as your stepdad's around. Those kids aren't safe. No kid is safe around them. And
Right.
And I hope that they don't have a lot of kids around them just in general, just from being, other
Right.
family members or whatever. But
Well, my sister, one of my sisters has 2 children. I think my brother has at least 1, maybe 2 children now.
oh no.
And they just pretend I don't exist, basically. It's the impression I've gotten.
I'm so sorry. And do you think that's because you're the one that spoke out, and said, I'm not going to let this happen to me anymore? And
Oh yeah, definitely. So when I moved in with my aunt, I never finished that story.
Oh, I'm sorry. There I go, interrupting
No,
again.
fine. We both got on a tangent. You and I do this.
I know we do this. This is our way.
I stayed with my aunt. I want to say for 3 or 4 months. It turned out her husband was a hoarder, so I had to walk through a pathway to get to my room, and it was just dirty. I had my car taken away from me because if I went and got pregnant, I couldn't be trusted to
Oh my
have
God.
a car.
Oh Lord.
On occasions, my cell phone was taken from me. There was no food. So I was trying to breastfeed my child, and I couldn't support my own body, let alone another.
Wow.
And I was ridiculed like all the time. I was told I shouldn't breastfeed because I'm so young and I'm doing everything wrong as a mom. And
that's so terrible. I'm so sorry.
It was awful. So I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I need to come home. Can I please come home? And of course, he came and picked me up, and that was fireworks and drama. And
him picking you up. Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. That's what a story. Crazy. Are you open for questions? See if any of our guests have any questions for you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay. Judy, anybody? Does anybody have any questions for our guest Stitch? Anything you'd like to ask or say? Can you hear okay?
Mhm.
Yes, she can. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit more, Judy, with her? How it's, where did you find some similarities? You don't have to go into detail, just some similarities that you found.
Better. I had to think about it, like, how am I doing today? I'm doing a lot better. I went through a big isolation period before COVID. I isolated, and I got to figure out who I was after a lifetime of pleasing people and absorbing certain personality traits because I thought it would make people like me.
I'm looking at you, Judy.
I became isolated after a year after I got sober. I quit being the designated driver for everyone. And I was completely isolated for at least a year before I started therapy and before I met my partner. Um, and I got to figure out who I was because I didn't really know who I was back then.
Yeah, I mean, I can so relate to that too. Just as survivors, the people pleasing and things that we sacrifice for ourselves, that's what we had to do to survive. We had to be the good girls, we had to follow along with the plan or else we would pay,
Right.
you know? Well, good for you. It's true. It's true. And the thing is, the one thing that pisses people off more than anything, especially abusers, is when we set boundaries. When we set boundaries for ourselves. They don't like
Yes.
that at all. They don't like that at all. They're like, "What do you mean I can't just come, stomp on you whenever I want now? What do you mean I can't just come and just cause misery in your life whenever I want to.
Mm-hmm.
So that is such an important first step. I think that's probably one of the first steps in healing. What do you think? What do you say, Stitch? It's like, I would say setting boundaries for yourself is one of the first things that you have to do.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes so many people mad, and it's so scary, and it stays scary kind of sometimes. But it's definitely the first step, is just deciding that you can say no when you want to, just because you want to.
That's right. And that we don't owe anybody an explanation or a reason as to why. We can just simply say, I'm not comfortable with that, and that's enough. That's enough. That's the beauty of it. And when we realize that we have that power to say that, that's when that's where the magic happens, I think. When you find that you have that power, then you're like, oh, wait a second, I like this power. I'm going to set more boundaries for myself. And,
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, it really does feel good. It's like just so empowering but I also understand too, Judy, how you were saying how but you're still afraid when you felt bad for setting those boundaries because they told you that what you were doing was wrong, or and that's part of the problem, is that people don't realize that everyone is entitled to their own boundaries and what makes them comfortable. And abusers tend to trample on boundaries, so they're not very fond of them. They don't like them at all. Yeah. Oh, yes. Hmm. That's right. That's it. That's it. They want the power. They're gonna say they're trying to come down. It's like they have a jackhammer and they're trying to bust down your fence of boundaries. They're like, no, 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 you're not gonna let me out. So setting those boundaries, that's like the most powerful thing that we can do. And I'm so proud of all of us, I have to say, because all of us have done that when it hasn't been easy. All of us have found that, and it's still not easy. Can we just say that? Can we just say that even though we've set these boundaries, that it's not always easy to keep them? It's not always easy to, you know, keep digging your heels in it, as they say, and, sticking to your true, authentic self. It's so easy to want to say, well, it's Christmas. Why not let them come over for Christmas? It's just Christmas,
Well, you have to get invited to Christmas first.
Right, exactly. And that's something too that I've said this is that, and I might have told you this, that none of us have to do anything. We don't have to go to those family events where those people are. We don't have to go where we're not comfortable. You know what? Create your own tradition. Start your own celebration with your own family. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. So I'm proud of us. Yay for us. So, Stitch, I want to thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything that you wanted to add before we close out? I did want to ask you, where people can find your podcast if they wanted to um, hear you and subscribe to you, which I highly recommend. Where can they get in touch with you? Where can they find you? Give us all the details.
Yes, absolutely. So my podcast is called Navigating Normal. I go under the nickname Stitch, and I invite people to come on and talk about their story. If they want to have a nickname that they go by, that's totally acceptable. My podcast is more for adult survivors that went through child abuse, and just how you're figuring out how to navigate normal.
Right.
How to go through life and learn to be a productive, positive person without continuing cycles in a healthy way.
Yes, absolutely. And I definitely want to have you back on about breaking those cycles. Now, I want to talk about how you broke cycles. And that's the other thing, Judy, I would love to have you part of that conversation as well. Cycle breakers were powerful. And we've done an extraordinary thing in breaking these intergenerational cycles of trauma. And I think it's important for people to hear how we do that. And, look forward to another conversation with you coming up. Now, if anybody wanted to email you or reach out to you, if they wanted to be a guest on your show, how would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. My email is stitchnormal@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter @normalstitch, Instagram stitchnormal. If you find the podcast on any platform, Apple, Google, Spotify, I think I'm on a few others, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon. If you go in the description, there is also what I keep referring to as the Stitch Hotline. You can text that number anytime. It's not my actual phone number, but it will go to my phone and I can text with you, and if you need to hash something out real fast, I'm always available. There's a P.O. box if you want to do any type of snail mail communications. You can pretty much get a hold of me in any mode of communication. I'm there.
And where do they find that P.O. box? Is there do you have a website?
It's in the description of the podcast episodes.
Oh, got it. Okay. Perfect.
Yep. And then there's a Ko-Fi website. It's like ko-fi.com/navigating normal.
Okay.
Where you can, buy me a coffee. That's the only form of pledge that you can make.
Okay.
And it's on there too. All the contact information's on there too.
Okay, awesome. Well, Stitch, thank you again. This is going to do it for this episode of Survivor Strong. David, I'm so sorry you just joined us at the tail end. Would you like to come on and say hi? Or, oh, he said no. He left the room. He was like, nope, that's a no. So Stitch, thank you so much for being with me. Judy, thank you so much for being here and contributing as always. This has been episode 5 of Survivor Strong with Stitch. And as always, I'd like to remind everyone that we're all in this together. And you got this. You got this. You can get through whatever you're struggling with. And we'll talk about it, okay? Until next time, bye, Judy. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Yay! Good job. You did it.
I was sitting here half an hour before your podcast started thinking I had it figured out.
Oh my gosh, that is my bad for the community, because I forget that when I send the calendar invite that it does the Google thing. I forget that, and I'm just like, so I have to remember, I'm new at this. I'm just starting this whole thing too,
I have every technical difficulty.
Yes, so I think that, I think in my email, like when I'm inviting future guests, in the email, I'll be like, this is what you need, I just think that would be helpful, because not everyone knows that Fireside, you can't access it without.
Right, yeah.